Hey everybody, it's Lindsay. I am here to show you a couple more things about filters, a couple of warnings and just issues that can cause snafus and how you can avoid them. So first I'm going to show you one thing that you need to keep in mind if you're going to share your data or you're receiving incoming data, and that is be careful with what filters you have on, okay? So let me hop over here for a second. And I'm going to show you, I'm going to delete this column for a second, we'll add it back in a second. But let's say you've got your filters on, okay, you're looking at your data and you were looking at your second store. You were taking a look at those data sets, those rows here, and you decided you're going to distribute this. Before you distribute it, make sure that you either turn your filters off or you let your people that are receiving it know what's on. It can just be kind of difficult to check and make sure you know that a filter's on, especially if you're dealing with a larger data set. Obviously here we've got 6 columns, 7 columns. So that's a little easier, but if you've got like 20 columns, that can happen very easily. Just make sure you let people know what's on or turn it off. And conversely, if you're receiving data, make sure that you check to understand what columns are on. Either you can do it, by looking at the headers, although if you've got a lot, that can be quite a bit to check out and make sure you remember. So what you may want to do instead is go up to the data menu up here and see where you've got sort, filter, clear filters. If you click that, that will make sure that all of your filters get turned off, and then you don't have to worry about one by one checking each thing, because you could have been looking, you could have had somebody who was looking at, for some reason, hat sales, and they only wanted to see hat sales from select here. Say they just wanted to see what happened in December and October. And if you get a data set like this, you may not know that that's everything that's included. Again, especially dealing with larger data, it may not be immediately apparent that anything's hidden. So either acknowledge what you did or just clear your filters and be clear about that. The second thing you want to watch out for is if you have to add columns when you have filters on, make sure that if it's outside of the scope, outside of your current range, that you turn your filters off and on again. And I'll show you what that means. So if you were to add a column within your current data set, so if I right click on the last column here, insert, and I type, say I'm going to start to add the cost of items in here, it includes an arrow. It already knows that since everything that's within that area already has a filter, it's going to add a filter on, okay? So it's going to know that you want your cost filtered as well. So you can see that it included all of those figures, okay? It includes it. Now, if you put that column outside of your data set, and I just undid all that, do cost here, it doesn't know that that's something that you want included in your filters. That may not seem like a problem, and you may very well not have an issue, but to be honest with you, you just really want to be careful, because sometimes it does get kind of crazy and it messes up your formulas or copying or things like that. So instead, just be sure that if there's not an arrow there, take that as a little warning, a little cue to yourself to turn your filters off and then turn them back on, and it will capture everything again as a filtered area. So just keep that in mind. The third thing I wanted to show you is what happens if you're dealing with filters and your first row isn't a header row or you have blanks. And it's kind of, you do the same thing. Now right now we've just turned on and off our filters, and it knew that our data was in, our header row was the first row. So that was very easy. But let's say you export your data, and I already have my filters on here, so let me just clear my filters. Let's say you export your data from your database. What we use in my company is SAP, so this may be a standard problem. If you've got a report and for some reason it doesn't export clean to Excel, you will have you will have the situation of data that doesn't necessarily come line by line with your header nice and clean. So if you went to turn on filters and you just clicked your button, it may give you that. It may give you an indication that you select a cell and try again. If you've got it somewhere else, it may go ahead and try to find your header row here, and it did here. So I'm like, great, that's wonderful. I want to filter on my second store. And I'm like, uh-oh, what happened? It actually only filtered the continuous range at the top there. It didn't include any of these other data sets, which it broke out December, January, February when I exported it. And that's not really what I wanted. So I'm gonna undo the filter and undo the turning on of the filters. What you want to do when you've got blank rows and your header is not your first row is start with your first cell that is your header, and then do Control Shift or Command Shift right. And then if you hit page down, that would normally select your whole range. But since we've got empty rows here, go ahead and continue to hold that Control and Shift and just page down. Oops. Control Shift over, page. This was working for me before. Okay, page down. Don't hold down, just hit page down, and you'll be able to capture all of your data. You can see that that's the end. I don't have any more data after that. I'm not worried about what is actually the last row. I'm just going to turn my filters on because we're going to end up filtering out those blank rows anyway, okay? So now I've got my filters on, same situation, filters starting in row 7. Now I'm going to filter on my second store. And boom, you can see that it grabbed from each of my sections, it grabbed the second store. So it filters out everything because you told it exactly what range you wanted. Another way that I use this is sometimes I want everything, but I just want to take away the blanks. And another thing you may want to be careful of is you can see in row 30, it kept the header. So I'm just going to turn that off as well. And now I've got a clean data set as if I had exported it, and I can copy and paste this to a fresh sheet too if I don't want to deal with any of those hidden rows at all. So those are some things that you can do to help make filters not act a little wonky on you. Good luck!